Hazrat Ali, would Hazrat Ali have named his own sons after them?
कि दिलो मस्जिद है दोनों घर खुदा के, मगर फर्क है इतना कि ये तामीर है तेरी और वो तामीर है उसकी.
Islam was born into challenges.
ज़ालिकल किताबु ला रैब फीह, अल्लाह फरमाते हैं मैंने कसमें उठाकर कहा कि ये किताब सच्ची है जो तुम्हारी झोली में है.
जो अल्लाह का हुक्म आ जाए तो वहां एक मुसलमान का काम यह है कि बस ये अल्लाह का हुक्म है, मेरी समझ में आए या ना आए, हर हाल में मैं उसके ऊपर अमल करने का पाबंद हूं.
नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल करीम फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम. अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू. It's indeed my pleasure to be here this evening, and I am very grateful and express my gratitude to Masroor Sahab, my host this time, and also Maulana Mansoori for asking me to come here. I'm really in the state of trouble to speak on such a subject, challenges to the Muslims and Islam, modern challenges to Islam and Muslims. The topic is such which agitates the mind of almost everybody, including the Muslims. And but this is true. Challenges are there, but the thing is, the issue is this: that how do we meet those challenges? How do we respond to those challenges? And what are those challenges? I just took some notes, but the thing is, what I'll do, instead of going into details thing, I'll speak on the issue in principles, and that will elaborate the point that I want to make. And when you talk about the continuing challenges to Islam and Muslim, so as far as continuing challenge to Islam is concerned, that's one topic which is common, doesn't matter where it is. But when you talk about the contemporary challenges to Muslims, and there's a problem in that sense, that is one is the Islamic society itself, Muslims living in Muslim majority areas, or Muslim countries, put it that way, how they are facing the challenges and how they are going to respond to those challenges. Other is the Muslims who are living as a minority anywhere in the world, how they are coping with the challenges, what challenges they have, kind of thing. Hazrat Salman Farsi, radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he accepted Islam, and before he accepted Islam, he was a Jewish rabbi, he was Jewish alim. And he came to Rasulullah and had a dialogue, and then he accepted Islam. And then he told Rasulullah, because of my Jewish background and the Jewish rabbis who respect me, this kind of thing. So what you do is that put me behind a curtain and let these Jewish rabbis come and you ask them about me, what do they think of me? And this is what Rasulullah did. And they asked him, Rasulullah asked them about Salman Farsi, oh, he's a very learned man, he's this, full praise thing, nothing less than that. And then Rasulullah said that, what happens if he accepts Islam? He said that can never happen. It can't be there. And then Rasulullah asked Salman Farsi to come out of the curtain and tell and explain and announce, which he did. As soon as he announced his Islam, same rabbis who until now were praising him, suddenly they rejected him, said he is nobody, doesn't know anything about religion, nothing this thing. Condemned him for all kinds of things gone there. But then what happened after that? Hazrat Salman Farsi said to asked Rasulullah that although I have become Muslim, but as my knowledge is in the Jewish religion and Jewish books, and I would like to keep some of them, and then in order to attract other people to do something on that. In other words, although he became Muslim, but still he wanted to keep some touch with Jewish religion or Jewish philosophy and thinking. Immediately as it happened, a verse of the Quran arrived. Which is a very famous verse. This is Surah Baqarah in ayat number 208. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kafa wa la tattabi'u khudwati shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. If you enter into Islam, you enter into Islam fully. You can't keep one foot on this side, one foot on this side. You have to be totally there. And this is the biggest challenge that you have at the moment. This is common whether the Muslim majority or the non-Muslim majority, that's the same thing. And Iqbal had said, अपनी मिल्लत पर क़यास अक़वाम मग़रिब से न कर, ख़ास है तरकीब में क़ौम रसूल हाशमी. Don't draw an analogy on the Western nation. The whole composition of the Muslim community is very peculiar, very special, nothing to do with the Maghrib. And I often say, whenever I go to Pakistan, that if you don't listen to Maranad or Kurta or Dari or Pagdi, if you listen to Iqbal, you become Muslim. So, and but that's something else. Now, as far as challenge to Islam is concerned, you must understand that there are four essential elements of Islam. Number one is the aqaid. If aqaid are true, the aqaid are the foundation upon which the structure stands. And this is really, we should be grateful to Allah Ta'ala that the Quran is here with pristine presence. And the original language of Wahi is intact. Say if you quote me a Quranic verse in English, doesn't mean to me anything. You can do it in order to understand or make people understand it. But then, I would like to go and see in Arabic what the Quran is saying. Often happens. Comparatively speaking, if you look at the Bible or Torah, they lost the language of revelation. What they have is the translation. And their fight is among themselves on the translation of the translation and not on the original language itself. As a result, they can't do anything about it. And just now, Mustafa Azami has written a thick book on Quranic text, although he has also brought in Torah, where he established the language of the Torah and the Quran supremacy because of the language of Wahi. So in this way, Allah Ta'ala has blessed us. That our original language of Wahi is intact, and that as long as the Quran is there, the pristine knowledge and the aqaid will always be clearly it is there. So one is the aqaid, which is the foundation, and the foundation is never visible. Empire State Building, you see, nobody sees the foundation, but there is a foundation. So the foundation had to be strong. That's why in the early days of Islam, so much efforts were made on the aqaid itself. And that was the most important thing to do there. Alhamdulillah, as far as aqaid is concerned, those 5 aqaid, nobody plays havoc on that as such. But still the thing is this, but that's a legal situation. And I often say in Pakistan and other places, we are fiqhi Muslims. Legally we are Muslims. Nobody can say we are not Muslim because of the aqaid and namaz, roza, hajj, zakat. We do that. So one is the aqaid, and then the other is the ibadat. The ibadat is between Allah and us. But ibadat themselves are not the objective. Ibadat are means to achieve something else. And we do our ibadat, and there's the adaful iman, that is the biggest of the iman that we do, but we do. Where we fall down very badly are the 2 other elements, that is called ma'amalat and akhlaq. And ma'amalat consist, major portion of that is law, all kinds of law. Personal law, commercial law, public law, trade law, all kinds of laws. And Surah Hadith, Allah Ta'ala mentioned that. Allah Ta'ala brought down the Quran as a mizan. But also Allah Ta'ala said in the Hadith, I brought down Hadith also, Luha. Means the qawaneen. Because man can slip. If the man slips, what is the taqwa? Fine, that's okay. But man is murakkab al-khata wal-isyan. For a man, he will forget. Then what happens after that? So in order to do that, there's treatment is given that. They will be bad down badly. Now that one side of the story. And the sources are really the Quran and Hadith. And it's Allah Ta'ala's really nizam is this. As long as Quran is there, Hadith will also be there. You can't separate the two. Because what is Hadith? When you talk about Hadith or Sunnah, although there is a technical difference between the two, but nevertheless, if you separate the Hadith, separate the Sunnah from the Quran, you can't live. Because the thing is this, the interpretation of the Quranic verses through the words and deeds of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can't even make namaz without hadith. How can you make namaz? Where does the Quran say how many rakat will be there? What could you read where? How can you do that? You can't separate it. And therefore that becomes the main thing. Now then come to the challenge to Islam. The challenge to Islam has never been something new, a new phenomenon. Islam was born into challenges. The condition of challenges may change, but challenge will always be there. When Islam was brought by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at that time the generation which was there, it was there. They also were challenging it. So as far as Islam is concerned, Islam has always thrived on the challenges. The Islam faced the onslaught of the 2 great empires of the day, their civilization, their culture, their pattern of life, the Byzantine Empire and Iranian Empire. Islam survived. So Islam thrives on challenges. So if the challenge is today, Islam will survive. Islam has survived because the 2 major sources are still there. And this is where the problem is. And therefore there is a breed of scholars, moderate scholars, you can call it whatever you call it, moderate, liberal, all kinds of things. And this division they have created between the fundamentalist and the liberal. I have never understood the definition. Nobody defined what do you mean by fundamentalist, what do you mean by liberal, what do you mean by moderate. I don't know what it means. The thing in the context of Protestants, I can understand, or Catholicism, I can understand. I can understand between the Orthodox Jews and the Reformed Jews and the modern Jews. I can understand. I had a friend of mine. He was Jewish and he was a professor. He was married to a Catholic. And so I asked him, why I was asking about Jewish thing. He said, I become Jew only when I travel. I said, what do you mean? He said, when I travel, I ask for a kosher meal. Because what happened in the aeroplane, the kosher meal comes first. So therefore, I become Jew at that time. So the thing is this, I can understand. But when you come to Islam, there is no division of this. How do you define that? What do you mean by liberal? I can understand in terms of fiqh, I can understand. But that's also a parameter there, beyond which you can't go. But the thing is this, you understand Islam in the thing, and the breed which is today, which is going there, because everything we look at it is from the Western value system. From the glasses that we wear is the Western value system. And from there we point out everything. And there we talk about liberalism or that kind of thing. But as far as Islam is concerned, Islam is there, nothing changes. So this breed I have never understood. In Pakistan I said okay, the only thing I can think of liberalism or the moderate. There is a famous poet, Nushur Wahdi, one of his couplets he says, I'll do it in Urdu, then translate in English. He said, मिला लेते हैं थोड़ी सी जगह ज़मज़म भी पीते हैं. So the thing I mixed the alcohol even when we drink Zamzam. So that's moderation. This is not right. Then a time came in the history of Islam when destructive movements started in Islam itself. Now, those destructive movements came in various forms. And that's why those destructive movements is called Haqqani movement. Unfortunately, in the Darulooms, we don't teach those movements. And as a result, they challenge. But there has always been a group of ulama, a group of scholars who faced the challenges and brought out the thing properly. The greatest contribution of Ghazali, besides Tasawwuf. In fact, I advise the people of Darulloom, especially Darulloom, and even younger people, they should do that. The university-educated people also at the same time. His book in Arabic is called Al-Munqiz min al-Dalal. This is his own biography, his own story. When he resigned from as professor from the Madrasa of Nishapur, his problem was how to achieve paradise and how to avoid hell. Jahannam se kaise najat ho aur jannat kaise milegi? That was the main question. Now that was agitating his mind. In order to solve that problem, he resigned from his madrasa and spent 10 years finding an answer to that. In order to find that answer, what he did, the movements which were in those days going on, he went deep into that and learned about it. Philosophy, the movements about the Patani movement, the scientific, the exact sciences, non-exact sciences. He went into the deal. Also, he went into the various forms of tasawwuf that he went there. And especially philosophy. Now, after 10 years, he came to the conclusion that the right path which can take me to the Jannah is the proper the path of Tazkiyah and Ihsan, which is the Quranic term. And the Hadith Jibreel is very famous for that. I don't go into detail. And he rejected all the other movements. The greatest contribution of Ghazali was he struck at the very root of philosophy. To such a level, the philosophy never was able to survive. And he wrote a book called Tahafatul Falsafa. And Ibn Rushd from Spain, he answered that, Tahafatul Tahafa. But surprisingly, his book, Bidayat al-Mujtahid, is very common among the madrasa and the ulum, which nobody says anything about it. They don't take him as a falsafi, they take him as a mujtahid thing. A very popular book, Bidayat al-Mujtahid. Now, Tahafatul Tahafa, everybody knows. But Tahafatul Falsafa, everybody knows. But Tahafatul Tahafa, very few people know about it. So that was the contribution of Ghazali. You know what a destructive movements which were there, how to avoid that. And now these challenges which were there for Islam, this is nothing new. Islam survive whether you do anything or don't do anything. Islam will survive on its own. Is doing it everywhere. Everybody would know what is Islam, what is non-Islam. That's not, to me, that's not the problem. But the problem is sometimes what happens is this. The new breed which has come. My father used to say that there are two enemies of Islam. One is the open enemy, like the non-Muslims or Christians or Jews, whoever that may be. It is easy to handle them because they're open enemies. You can handle them. But the other type of enemies are those who come in the garb of Islam. That is difficult to do that. Because they give you, they start any movement and they inject into this the misled aqaid. And this is where the problem comes in. And that becomes by the march of the time, that become a norm kind of thing. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is in view of the Western thinking, or Western value system, they would like to reinterpret the Quranic verses in order to suit those things which is happening. Now, one thing you must understand, everything which was of the old is not good. Everything of the modern, not necessarily bad. The principle is khuzma safa dama qadar. You have to select and see what meets the challenge, what meets the criterion of Islam, what do not meet the criterion of Islam. That's the thing. But to reinterpret the Quranic verse in order to pull and push and think and put the thing, that's something else. There are many who tried that. You know, Taslim al-Sin from Bengal and many other people who have done it. In England itself, there are people who have been making this kind of noise to reinterpret the Quran. Now, this is Maulana Alimia had written a book, not a book, this is his speeches when he went to Pakistan. It became known as Hadith-e-Pakistan. And there he has analyzed why Pakistan has not become an Islamic state as yet. What happened? Something went wrong somewhere. And he arrived at the conclusion and he said, one sentence he said, and I will translate to you in English also, कि यहाँ के लोगों को, मुसलमानों को, इस्लाम की अबदियत और कामिलियत पे यकीन नहीं है. The people do not believe in the perpetuity of Islam and in the perfection of Islam. He said complete. And therefore, I often maintain and say that we are fiqhi Muslim. But by fikri तौर पे हम मुसलमान नहीं हैं. By ideology we are not Muslim. Mechanically we do lots of things. We go for namaz, we go to roza, we go to hajj, we go to zakat, we think with it, and think that's fine. But fikri, ideologically we do not think that Islam is practical. And this is because of the onslaught which is happening on the minds of the Muslim, which is happening. As a result, we become apologetic in many ways. Now you remember the days of Akbar in the Mughal history. He started Deen Ilahi. There have been very destructive movements with there. Allah Ta'ala produced suddenly take care of that kind of. What happened to Deen Ilahi? It's finished. It's gone. No longer there. Likewise, anything, destructive elements which were brought in, it went into pieces. That did not, that one there. And therefore the reinterpretation of the Quran, it impressed the young mind people, and especially those who graduated from the universities. I'll come back to this point a little later. Two very dangerous movements, two very dangerous elements which is affecting the young mind of the Muslims are, number one, the principle of secularism. In the sense that the secularism is the backbone of the Western society. It suits them because the centuries of war, centuries of battle between the church and the state, and on a very flimsy point, the church was separated. And on the divorce of the king, and that became his point, and that became the Protestants. And Catholicism is something else. Now people don't know the many things which the Catholics believe, Protestants don't believe. The Protestant Bible is something, Catholic Bible is something, the Catholic Bible is something else. There's a difference among them. Now often you must have, because we don't study these things. You know about it because you live in England, you know about it. The royal family cannot marry a Catholic. But nobody talks about it. But if we say a Muslim can't marry a non-Muslim, everybody jumps on it. Yes, you can marry, but you have to become Catholic and leave Protestantism. Now this is because the mind has been imprinted so much that we don't even think about it. It is possible. There is a sect among in America, there's other places also, they are called Mormons. Mormons are a very orthodox Christian. They don't consume alcohol. They don't take any intoxicant. Even coke they don't drink. They have polygamy. There is the allied community there in America called Amish. They have polygamy in America itself. And when I was to be in America, we were very good friend of the Mormons. They don't drink, we don't drink, kind of thing. Now the thing is this, and therefore the secularism which is there, which is imprinting the mind, and secularism has become a religion. It suits the West because the Old Testament is a revealed book to the Jews. To the Christians, Old Testament does not have a legal force. It's a moral force. They accept it, but as a moral force. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do this. So the thing is this, to them it's not a legal force. As a result, there is no Christian law. You've got a Roman law, the imprint of Roman law, the Western law, English law, or American law, all kinds of things. But the thing is, there is no such thing as Christian law. On the other hand, in Islam, there is Islamic law, or there is a Jewish law. But the thing, as far as the Christianity, there is no Christian law. Therefore, to them, secularism suits them. I can understand that. But can you ask an Orthodox Jew at the moment in Israel, if you go, Sabbath is still there. Although the modern Jews, they don't believe in it. But can you deny second there's nothing there? Can you ask an Orthodox Jew that don't eat kosher meat? You go any supermarket, anywhere you see a corner of the kosher meat. In fact, in England, or in America also, in very early days, I'm talking about the 60s, you could hardly get halal meat anywhere. And the Muslim used to go and buy kosher meat. This kind of thing. So the thing is, because our mind, like India, Pakistan, if you remember, in the old days I'm talking about, in the villages if you go, where they used to extract oil, and there used to be a buffalo or a bull or a cow, and to go around, and they used to put a flap on the eyes. So as far as the cow is concerned, things are going miles and miles and miles, but it is running, turning and then. That's the mentality that we have. That's a challenge. That is, we think we are moving, but we are not moving. We are saying, बक़ौल अकबर के लोगों ने रिपोर्ट लिखवाई है जाजा के थाने में कि अकबर नाम लेता है खुदा का इस ज़माने में, that the people have reported me to the police station that he mentioned the name of God in this period. And therefore the secularism has become a religion. Now the thing at the moment, I'm talking about presently, at the moment there is no Islamic State. Yes, there is half-bred Islamic State, Saudi Arabia a little bit, Iran a little bit, but there is no Islamic State as such. Yes, Muslim State, yes, there is. What they have done under the secularism, this is also a challenge to the Muslim society. Say, for example, Egypt, for a long time before Hosni Mubarak, Islam was the state religion, but everything they did was non-Islamic. They encouraged belly dancing. What has it got to do with Islam? Or alcohol. What has it got to do with Islam? But the state religion is Islam. How does it make things? How many other places? So because we are doing exactly what the West is doing. So we are looking at it from the Western value system. We are not prepared to think about it. We are not prepared to pay a price for that. This is the thing. Now, the definition of secularism in the West is different from the definition of secularism in the Muslim world. In the West, it is that the state does not support any particular religion, no matter what they may have. Islam, the state will not have its own religion. England is a dichotomy. How do you explain that the Queen of England is head of the state and also she is head of the church? Nobody picks up a finger. Nobody says, how can you combine together? Again, it is the same mentality. We are going the West, and we don't talk about it. You go to America, what do you see on their coins? On the coin written, in God we trust. But what about the rights of those who don't believe in God? What about the human rights? These are contradictions. Nobody talks about it. The President of the United States takes oath on the Bible. No matter which Bible. But they do. But why? What about the secularism then? So therefore, the thing is we don't think about these things, but this is a challenge to the modern Muslim to think about it. That was one point. The second point is this: the division between the world and religion, mazhab or dunya. Now this thing, private or public. Again, in the West, religion has been divorced from the public life. Not in England, but in many other places, divorced from that angle. In Islam, it is just the opposite. If you treat deen, if you treat dunya, if you behave dunya, if you perform dunya as Islam has asked you to do, that is also a deen. And that's why Quran uses the word deen. You see, there is a Quranic verse, Inna deen and the light Islam. Deen has been used many words. The other place Quran uses, but Christians and Jews, there Quran used the word millat. Here Quran used the word deen. What's the difference? There has to be a difference. Why Quran uses two different terms? In the other case, the Jews and Christians will never be happy with you unless you follow their millat. What does it mean? It means that everything, the pattern of life, religion, akhlaq, kirdar, everything put together. Everything, that's what it is. On the other hand, deen is the nizam-e hayat, the system of life. This is what Quran is talking about. So they have made a division between private and public. We don't. Our private life and public life both are accountable to Allah. This is what it means. But we have, under the influence of the Western system, we are separating the two issues. What belongeth to Caesar, render to Caesar what belongeth to Caesar, render to God what belongeth to God. It suits them, not to us. That's something else. And therefore, that's also something we should think about it. Now, the thing is this, in the Muslim countries, at the moment as it is going, same problem is happening. That they have adopted the Western norms, Western system, Western ideologies, and this is what we think. And we are trying to combine to those. That will never happen. You can't mix the oil and fire. Two different things. It is bound to have a destruction. And that's why Iqbal says, in order to prove, Quran talks about the principles. The details something else. Details come in the life of the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahaba, those things which come. And then after that derive the rules, regulations, those based on those things. Now the thing is this, as a consequence of this, we have fallen into such a pit. From there to come out and to present ourselves as a Muslim. Nowadays, people who accept Islam, not because they have seen something good. If you read the books of those who have written, those people who have accepted Islam my choice, or many other people, Murad Hoffman has written a book on his journey to Islam, or journey to Makkah, or this kind of thing. Read those books. Or this thing, it's the Quran. They read, not because they saw something else. In fact, that lady, that British correspondent lady, I forget the name, who was arrested in Afghanistan. Yeah, and she became Muslim, and she wrote a book after that, and she says that had I met Muslims just like that, not Afghanistan, I probably would not have become Muslim. Now, what she saw in Afghanistan? She saw what Islam is. That the man never entered into the room. They gave the food from outside. She was given a dress. She was respected. She was honored. She was king. And nobody bothered anything. There's something else. That affected her. That imprinted upon her. That and therefore, in order to pull and push and this kind of thing, to bring Islam as if it is the modern the edition of Islam. And that's why Iqbal says कि खुद बदलते नहीं, कुरान को बदल देते हैं, हुए किस दर्जा फ़क़ीहान हरम बे तौफ़ीक़. They don't change themselves, but they would like to change the verses of the Quran by interpretation or reinterpretation kind of thing in order to suit the how unsuccessful, how deprived of God's guidance these jurists are who want to do that. So this is our defeatist mentality that we have. Now the point I'm making is this. That is any ideology, doesn't matter which ideology, any ideology will not survive unless those who believe in that ideology are prepared to pay a price for that. If they're not prepared to pay a price for that, they will not survive. Will finish. Even a robber, he pays a price in the ideology that he believes that I must go and rob and do this, knowing the consequence of what it is. Still, he is prepared to pay the price. So we are not prepared to pay the price, and this is the biggest problem that we have. And therefore, the division between the private and public has created. That is when you come to the public life, where our muamalat and our akhlaq come through, we fall down very badly. Somebody asked a question, how is it that the West, Europe, West means Europe, America, everything, they are prospering so well in business and thing, kind of thing, and in Muslim it is not happening. It is very obvious. The obvious thing is this: that is the whatever the good in Islam was, instruction was, rules was, principle of business, principle of the maintaining each other, the division, all kinds of things. The akhlaq, the muamalat, thing, honesty, thing, the all kind of thing, West has got it. So these are our principles, but they have got it. And so naturally, what happened that if you apply those principles and things, you will prosper. You, on the other hand, adopted something else, the non-Muslim ideology. The way how can you prosper? How can you do that? So I think मेरी तामीर में मुज़मर है एक सूरत खराबी की कि in our instruction, in our building, in our construction, there is already an element of destruction. So how will you survive that? And therefore, the important thing is this: the two main thing problem. And I'm glad Maulana Mansoori is here. MashaAllah, he is doing the jihad. From my point of view, two biggest challenge that we have. Akbar had said long time ago that Afsos, I'm sorry that the Pharaoh did not think to establish a college. Otherwise, he would not have to slaughter the children, Jewish children, as such. This dichotomy continues. That is, the one type is the madrasa education, other time is the English education, that is the Jamia, the universities. In Pakistan, there have been a movement to change the syllabus of the madrasa. And lots of going on, Musharraf and Jawad there, everybody was talking about change the syllabus kind of thing. Arguments were false and deceptive. He was saying that the people who come out of the madrasa education, they are mu'attab. They have no consequence to the community. They are not think they can't become doctors, they can't do this, they can't do this, they can't become army. But that's deceptive. A person, a student who is studying social sciences cannot become doctor. A student who is doing arts, he cannot become a pathologist. Now the thing is this, likewise, the division which there is quite obvious. And a zoologist cannot become something else. A historian, for example, can be a historian of zoology, but not historian of social sciences. So that was deceptive. Now, I accept that in the madrasa education, madrasa syllabus, there is a problem. And the problem is not because of the any attempt, but this is because of tradition that is going on there, and they are not prepared to deviate from their tradition. There was a time in the Nisab, in the Madrasa Nisab I'm talking about, which you know as the Darsa Nizami nowadays, which was introduced by Mullah Nizamuddin, where Mantiq and Falsafa, where the logic and philosophy have been introduced. That was the most modern syllabus at the time, because the British were coming in. And when the British were coming in, with them, their padris were also coming in. And they all, Jehovah's Witnesses, all kinds of people coming, they are trying to convert the people to Christianity. And how do you deal with them? So you have to deal with them with that kind of weapon which they were using, Mantiq and Falsafa. That was the modern syllabus. Then what happened when the British came? Then came the establishment of Deoband, and they thought it is to safety of Islam, to save Islam from destruction. They created an institution or a boundary. But their aim was to protect Islam, Islamic values as such. That's all, nothing more than that. As against that came the second thought, that was Sir Sayyid. Now Sir Sayyid, he was sincere what he was going to do. But unfortunately, because if you introduce an element which is not Islam, it's bound to fail. So what happened? His idea was to combine the two, to have the modern education, but at the same time have Islamic education. And therefore he introduced lots of these things if you read his book. I mean, Sir Sayyid, nobody would blame him to say that he was a kafir or something like that. His teacher, Salman Nadvi's teacher, was the same teacher. But his introduction was on sincere basis, but the foundation was wrong. What happened now? There was no difference, became no difference between the University, Aligarh Muslim University, and the University of Cambridge or University of London. They have a smattering of theology, but that does not build the mind. Mind is being built in some other workshop. That's something else. In the madrasa, what they should do is this, that you must keep, like English universities, for example, all universities, they keep revising their syllabus all the time. In sciences, in history, introduce other subjects, introduce how to deal with the situation, how to come to this kind of thing. Medical sciences, they introduce the fresh syllabus. In the sciences, natural sciences syllabus, their principles must be taught. And ta'assuf fil maslak should not be there, prejudice to one particular school. Your own maslak may be whatever it is, that's not the issue. And that's how they did it. And we quote always Imam Shafi when he went to the grave of Imam Hanifa, and he did that. We always quote that. But when we come to the thing, then we don't. What they don't understand, that these are the differences among the fuqaha, not on the usul, not on the principles. These are the matters in details. Whether you do this or this or this. Now that happens in the medical faculty. That happens in the legal fraternity. Otherwise, how can you have a lawyer for the defendant and a lawyer for the plaintiff? Otherwise, we don't know difference. If you put a medical board and the doctors are sitting there, they will be bound to have differences. The principle of the diagnosis, they will agree. But the line of treatment, they will differ. In the same day, legal fraternity, they will differ. But nobody call each other kafir. No other teachers like this. So as if there is nothing in between kufr and Islam. So always is there kufr Islam, that kind of thing. It's a bad wrong, and therefore your enemies take advantage of that, and they will do that. And that's why don't blame the young people when they say they reinterpret the Quran rules, because they're fed up of this kind of thing. And these are the challenges that we should face there. When you come to the university education, I must say that in Pakistan, efforts are being made now to modernize some of the things, reduce the content of mantiq and falsafa and those things, and increase some other things, but still it's a long way to go. There is a madrasa in Karachi known as Jamiat al-Rashid. Now just imagine the ulama there. He has introduced, now they've introduced the MBA in the Jamiat al-Rashid. So ulama who are graduating alim, they're becoming MBA. Then alim who become an MBA, it makes lots of difference. An alim who may be expert in fiqh, if he gets an LLB degree, that's something else. So the thing is this, instead of throwing the baby with the water, we should try to do something about it. So madrasa is one side. My other complaint is the challenge which we have is I'm talking about the Muslim society. That the syllabus of the university must also change. In the university syllabuses, God does not appear anywhere. Whether it is natural sciences, exact sciences, medical sciences, take any sciences, or even social sciences or arts or anything. God does not appear anywhere. So as a result, a zoologist, he goes to the class. He teaches that the man was born of an ape. That's what he has been taught. That's what he does. But the same zoologist, when he comes to the masjid, and there Maulvi Sahib is saying, "Bhai, pehla aadmi insaan tha, the first man was," he says, yes. What he did, he has compartmentalized himself into two. As a zoologist, he believed this, but as a Muslim, he believed this. That's a nonsense. And therefore, not only that, God in the universal Islam does not, as a result, the mind which comes out of that, naturally will be secular. We don't blame them. Does not in any way. Now, as a result, these two parallel movement coming in, unless somebody does something else. And alhamdulillah, at least the people are alive to that kind of situation. This is an important thing is this. Now, when the Muslims are living in the non-Muslim society, like in England or America or anywhere, because the sword is hanging on their head, as a result, they try to make themselves, make their family Muslim, pay attention to their values, whatever it is. But even then, how much you can do that? And therefore, there's a couplet in Persian which says, I'll translate to you, the Persian couplet says, Darmiyane qar dariya takhta bandam kar dayi, baaz mein goi ke daman tar mukun hoshiyar bash. That is, you throw me in the depth of the sea, in the water, and then you ask me, beware, don't dry your clothes. Don't let your clothes dry. So you have chosen to live in a society where everything is anti-Islamic. From the private home to anywhere, everywhere where you go. Now you have chosen to live there. That's fine. You have lived there, but Islam, that's how Islam has spread. But Islam has spread by keeping the value of Islam. Now you here, naturally, public law is not in your hand. The other laws are not in your hand. At the most is a private law, personal law. Even personal law, when they dispute, you go to which court, kind of thing. Although I met just now some people from here in Britain, they want to introduce the Muslim family law. They're talking about it. Suhaib Hassan came and he talked to me about Sharia Council kind of thing. I promised him that I'll help him if he does that. In South Africa, we have tried, we are doing that. In India, it is being done. So that's the only thing that you have. I mentioned just now, Allah Ta'ala, Asan takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum. In France, they have a rule that no girl should wear hijab, public or school kind of thing. Now they resisted for a long time, but they didn't succeed as yet. So what happened now? What happened that the French Muslims are taking the Muslim girls out of the public schools, and they established private Muslim schools. So all the girls are going there with hijab and everything there. Now very soon that becomes a source of irritation to them, kind of thing. So the point is this: if you are living in a non-Muslim society, and therefore the biggest challenge for you that you have is that how you keep the Muslim. Aqaid is one thing that you do, that's fine. Many places I have gone where mentioned my dada was this Muslim, my dada used to speak that language, my English was saying, but I'm something else. And now the marriage between the two is coming up. In South Africa, for example, during apartheid days, there was very strict division, separation. And now the separation has gone, like it's happening in India. How many places you see that Hindu and Muslim are getting married? And creating a problem. Same thing is here in South Africa now, getting a thing. Father is Muslim. A big example is Obama himself. The father was Muslim. Now, at the age of 5 or 6, 7 or 8, he used to go to madrasa. He would say, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. Even now, his pronunciation of Assalamu alaikum is better than other American, because he did that. But then what happened? He get divorced, separate, run away. The mother was Catholic, didn't allow that. In South Africa, a man came to our house to do something there. And I asked him, what is your name? He says, my name is Muhammad. I said, that's fine. He said, well, what happened there? What happened there is this. His father was Muslim. He married a Catholic lady. He either did divorce or he died. So that Catholic lady never converted to Islam. They brought him out from there, take him out from the madrasa, and he's a Catholic. His name is Muhammad. So sometimes this is also deceptive. The point I'm making is these challenges are there not only as an individual, but as a community. And this is the important thing, it is. Now, Maulana Ali Mian, when he came here, he had given a talk in Birmingham. And very true. And we are sowing what we have, we are cutting what we sowed. He said, those people who have come from India and Pakistan, don't implant your problems of India and Pakistan here. This is a new land, new earth, new sky, naya zaman, naya zameen, naya asman, naya chin. Don't implant your thing there. Number one. But we didn't. We implanted the thing. Everything. If you look at the jang, I was just looking at the jang the other day, everybody is calling to Islam. And nobody less than Allama. Those days are gone. Is aashqi mein izzat saadat bhi gayi. So if you look at the advertisement, you see nobody, Maulana Maulvi is gone, no longer there. Everybody is Allama now. Doesn't matter what you did there. And then Maulana Ali Mian said also another thing, don't isolate yourself from the community where you're living. One venue of the spread of Islam used to be the migration, hijrat. But hijrat on our term, not somebody else's term. Because they went hijrat, they married the local lady, they became Muslim, they had business, they could think through their mamlat, through their akhlaq, through their children thing, they impressed upon them, they became Muslim. That was one of the major venue of the spread of Islam. So if you don't impress upon them through our mamlat, through our akhlaq, what will happen? So if you isolate yourself, like if you go to Bradford, you go to Birmingham, you go to Leicester, still you go. When I went to America in 1960s, I got Fulbright scholarship when I went there. We were given orientation, because in America this is a big thing, to give you orientation, how you live in America, how you see. Lots of things we were told. And we were told that if you're coming out to bring a bottle of milk or something like that, you can't go on your sleeping day, you have to wear a gown, do this kind of thing, do that. And if you are dating a girl, then you must get out of your car and open the door for her, and then you sit down. Or when you're walking with her, you be on the curb, she would be on the other side. These are the orientation we were given, and kind of thing we were doing. The thing is, but if you isolate yourself, you're following the same pattern what they are doing, so what's the difference? And therefore, Maulana Ali Mian said, don't isolate yourself. But that's exactly what we did. We completely isolated ourselves and implanted those problems. And America is a little safer than England. Because in America, because of the restrictions of the visas and those things, who go there, who do not go there, the educated people came there. And many people came from Middle East and other places. From India, Pakistan, very few were went there. They were overwhelmed by people who came from Al-Azhar or Egypt or something like that. So those problems at least were not implanted there, although injection is there. But here you are fully there. How can you, it is thing, I'll tell you this thing, mashallah, you people are so rich in this way that mashallah you can have 3, 4, 5 eats in there. So alhamdulillah, you can choose which way you're going. Or if you're busy something, you can't go tomorrow, I can't go today, I'm going to go tomorrow, kind of thing. Long time ago, when I was here as a fellow in Oxford University, At that time, I won't mention names. I was invited in Birmingham to chair a meeting where the many ulama, various scholars will come to discuss the issue of the moon and how to solve the problem. So when I went there, I said, I want to speak. All of you will speak, each one of you, and see what your problem, then I will understand what it is. When they spoke with the kind of thing, I don't want to go in detail already, it's getting 8:30. I realized the problem is not the shara, the problem is not the fiqh problem. The problem is who, I or you. That's the problem. So I said, bhai, the thing is this, in order for the community, for the ummah, unity or something like that, if you do that, that if you want to accept the Saudi or want to Morocco or you want to thing or Chand or this kind of thing, accept whichever, what difference it makes really. But the thing is, the do means like if we accept the region park thing, will we become a kafir? Or we accept the Morocco, will we become a kafir? So because each one who is giving the fatwa, Mustarad hai mera farmaya hua, is not prepared to change from there. Because in order to conceive, our ulama, our akabir, have withdrawn many rulings. Abu Hanifa, he just wrote a book on Abu Hanifa that people should read that. In fact, you should, I don't know where it is available, those books. That's your book.
Published from the foundation.
Which bookshop? Anyway, I'm talking about how many rulings he has withdrawn. There used to be a risala, they call Tarjih Rajah. When he withdrew a particular opinion, he realized that he used to print there. My father make lots of things retracted. So in order to serve the community, that's something else. So I'm talking about the challenge that you're facing here is this as a Muslim in this, what example you give. The thing is this, some people working in this university, some people working in the workshop, some people working there. What do you think? 4 or 5 days you eat going on there, 3 or 4 days you eat going on. We have solved the problem in South Africa. Alhamdulillah, we have got 55 million per 50 million per population. If we moon sighted wherever we sighted, we accept it everywhere. It doesn't matter whichever. But the principle is very simple kind of thing. This I just give you an example. Okay, as a Muslim community, if you're living as a non-Muslim anywhere, don't isolate yourself. How will you be able to effect if you don't practice Islam in the way? And don't dilute yourself in this way. And that's why when Allah Ta'ala made the opinion about this, enter into Islam fully, not partially. Don't become part-time Muslim, become full-time Muslim. And that means sacrifices. That means you have to pay a price for that, if you are prepared to pay a price for that. And then the last point is this, that is we are not prepared to accept somebody as elder. Everybody thinks I'm the elder. So how would you do that? That the thing is this: if everybody becomes chief or no Indian, how will you work? And therefore, we are not prepared to swallow our pride, whether pride of knowledge, pride of wealth, or pride of anything. We are not prepared to do that. There used to be different opinions among Sahaba themselves. But no Sahabi call each other kafir. Or even after that, the Tabi'in, or even the Fuqaha. The differences between these four for the school of law that we have, they can call each other kafir, although they were different. Or like, go another thing there, in the medical fraternity, the fundamental difference come through. They don't say he's not a doctor, he's a quack. Or legal fraternity, the fundamental differences that come there. No one say he's a quack, something. But we are quick. Why? Because we are not prepared to change. We are not prepared to accept. And therefore, why should we be, what problem is it? Quran says, over every knowledgeable person, there is another man who knows more. What's the point then? If I am driving a Mercedes, somebody is driving a Porsche. What does it make? So, but the thing is, as an educated person, as an alim or graduate or some whatever it is, we are not prepared to swallow the pride that we have in order to follow somebody. Everybody wants to become imam, but nobody wants to be muqtadi. This is where the problem is, and that's why what Iqbal has said. Again, I'm quoting it. And this is the thing that you should keep in mind. Iqbal says very nicely. He put it. हमने ऐ मेरे सिपह तेरी सिपह देखी है हमने ऐ मेरे सिपह तेरी सिपह देखी है कुल हुवल्लाह की शमशीर से खाली है नियाम Yes, you have this cupboard, but there is no sword. So your enemy knows it. You may not know it. Our enemy is very wise. Our enemy knows it. The Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Khilafat had ruled for several hundred years, 3 continents and Europe. All the 3, Greece and Sicily, all these things. They ruled it. They are wise. They don't want to repeat it. But we have forgotten that lesson. And that's why sometimes I say in terms of Pakistan, I said, Iqbal has said a couplet, nicely put it, while he was passing through Sicily. And he said, I said to Pakistani people, sometimes I say, I'm afraid sometimes if a poet sore at heart, if he's passing by the shore of Karachi, might say this, that Roli Abdil Khol ka Dide Khuna Babar, wo nazar aata hai Tehzeeb Hijazi ka madar. That the Iqbal was crossing Sicily, he said, oh, sore at heart, cry the tears of blood. This is where the grave of the Hijaz system, which was this Hijaz civilization, which used to be there. So if you don't do it, somebody else will do it. Now the last point, just forgive me for that. Last point is this: Islam was spread more by non-Muslims than the born Muslims, because the non-Muslims, they're fresh in Islam, they know the value. When they become Muslim, they become Muslim knowingly. And we are born Muslim, we don't. For example, a child, a boy, a man, who gets wealth from his father does not know the value of the wealth. But the person who has worked hard and then he had money, he knows what the value of the thing. I would like to finish on this story, an anecdote, not anecdote, it's waqia. Muhammad Asad, who was the translator of the Quran and the author of Road to Makkah. He became Muslim long time ago. Road to Makkah had made many people Muslim, many non-Muslim. He narrated a story. He told me that in the war, Second World War, British, when India they were ruling, they had imprisoned all those who belonged to German or Polish or something like that in the jail, because they were suspect that they will support German or something like that. So when he went to jail, there were lots of Jesuit priests. And so when they came to know that I used to be a Jew and I had become a Muslim, so they were very surprised. This is really unthinkable. How can you become Muslim? In other words, from their point of view, Islam is the youngest religion, Jewish is the oldest. So what happened? You jumped across, you left Christianity in the middle, and you come over to Islam. Now, why did you do it? If you really wanted to change from your religion, Jewish, logically you should have accepted Christianity, rather than to jump a step and go to become a Muslim. I can't think about it. So he says, well, nothing lost. I'm prepared to change even today. But I have some questions. If you answer me, that's fine. If you satisfy me, I'll be happy. He said, fine. So they established, they sit down next day and say, all right, what is your question? So Asad said, I don't understand what Trinity is. Can you explain to me what Trinity is? So they were explaining Trinity. And he was putting objections. And going on and on and on and on. They were tired. I was like, we will meet you tomorrow again. Next day again they meet. Same thing happened again. He was asking Trinity and putting one question and the answer, objection after objection. They got fed up. They couldn't satisfy him. He said, listen, if you become Christian, you will understand what Trinity is. So Asad said, but that's exactly because I became Muslim, because Islam says you think first, then you become Muslim. And you are taking me to become Christian first, then you think about it. So therefore I'm talking about, it's a very, sorry to take so much of your time, but I thought to brought out in principle what it is, and I'm very grateful. Wa akhiru da'wana bil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.